Okay, so long story short, you know those old prototype Xboxes? You know, the ones that were built in the year 2000 to show off the latest releases or innovations on that hardware? Well, if you don't, then that's alright. Let me tell you a bit about it. Essentially, I've already told you the brief bit, like, for example, it was made in the year 2000, which it was, and it was also a basis for what Xbox would shortly be after. The thing is, the original prototypes anyway, they were only built for stage purposes, never to truly be released to anyone else. I don't know how I was able to do this still to this very day, but I was able to find a working one, and one no less that was actually modified to play games. It was based off the original prototype design, and it was functionable. I was able to load up games pretty easily. And obviously, as you can imagine, my favorite being Halo. Now, despite all of this information, it's still a pretty rare console. Even though it's not the original prototype, it's still up there. And to be honest, I'm pretty sure anyone else would kill to get their hands on this. And to be fair, I'd be happy to give you it, given the fact that, well, I'm not exactly pleased with it anymore. You see, the whole thing has scared me, and is what led to me to actually write this up and talk about it. Now, here comes the dreaded question. What made you so scared of it? And why do you want to give it away to us? Well, to that I say this. What spoke me so much was the fact that whenever I play games on there, and this goes for any game, there would always be a slight inconvenience that would happen, and it would get progressively worse over time. The first thing I noticed is while playing Halo 2 in the campaign. I was on the mission Cairo Station, just doing what I had to do, blowing Covenant to bits, when all of a sudden, the game started to lag and choke up. I was then presented with the end cutscene, which I almost finished, but I was shocked to realize that I had done it, when every single thing went wrong. The graphics started to go horribly more low poly in resolution, and on top of all that, the colours on the screen didn't match what they were supposed to be. It was as if the filter on screen and every single molecule of colour was being ripped away and replaced with a dark and black shade. And after all that, any music that was playing in the background started to play in reverse, as if it was having trouble even loading the game at this current point. Needless to say, I turned the thing off and waited a couple seconds, and every time I did this it fixed the problem, but only for a short amount of time, before the thing then started to act up again. I also know that in one particular instance, I was playing, I think, Half-Life 2 on the Xbox, when all of a sudden, the game, and the Xbox rather, completely shut off. I was then greeted with a blank screen, and that was it. I went to turn it on, and when I did, the game presented as normal, but then immediately took me back to the home menu. It then displayed some kind of error message, but it was chilling in nature. The error message got straight to the point and simply said that there's a problem while loading the game, and would attempt to reopen it. Now, whenever it did attempt to reopen the game, it would cause a strange effect. The error message would then display again, this time with corrupted text, and it was really weird because, to be honest, the corrupted text almost looked like an entirely new sentence. I couldn't read it because it didn't make any sense. It was just a bunch of jumbled characteristics to formulate some kind of letters. But nevertheless, after that I was forced to either restart my console or do something else. Now, after around about 3-4 months or so of this, I obviously couldn't look up any information about it because, there was nothing relevant to my situation. But what I tried to do is take a look at the console itself and see what made it tick, basically, and what made it so buggy. The biggest thing, apparently, that made it so buggy was the fact that something to do with the internal memory. It was apparently corrupted in the sense that there was something else on that memory drive. I couldn't figure out what it was because whenever I tried to access this unknown file, it wouldn't load. Instead, it would present me with a black screen with some kind of run box in the corner. Now, I don't know much about scripting or codes by any means, but when I tried to implement one simple command to see if that would bring up anything, help, I got greeted with an error message. The error message would display in its typical dashboard format, as it would on the Xbox if you were to play it normally. The error simply stated that I didn't have access to DirectX_direct scripts. I took a deep look at that. DirectX, isn't that the software the thing runs on? I then took a look at the system BIOS. That was all normal, from what I could tell anyway. It basically showed the system booting up, and from what I could tell, frame rates were normal and nothing was out of place. Also, the system BIOS did not crash at any rate, which meant the console itself and everything regarding it was intact. That left me with one other option, to look at the internal memory one last time. I went into the internal memory and found out that there was something there this time, an executable game of sorts. It was called Xbox-Direct software. I was able to load it up, and basically, I was presented with a bunch of scripts and things I could use to do whatever I liked. For example, I could customize the internal colors of my dashboard from red to yellow to blue hues of light. But perhaps the most coolest thing, I could basically muck around with any of the games I had. I had the ability to modify saved data, or for example, in games like Halo or anything else, use commands to spawn in weapons and do anything. But the biggest thing, perhaps, was the fact that something else also had control over this domain, and that was some kind of AI, or at least I thought it was an AI. It would constantly execute scripts in the background, with simple lines of code running down. Now, this must have been the thing that was able to control the Xbox and basically run simple scripts, like when I was playing games. I thought maybe this could be the cause of some of the errors, and I decided to take a look at this AI and see some of the scripts it was running. It was running the basic software scripts needed to even turn on, which was good enough, but there was still no error messages or anything of the sort, so I couldn't really get a good look at what was happening. I decided to call it a day, however, and leave it at that. The next day, however, I loaded it up again to play some classic games, and the AI had already made changes to everything, or at least I assumed it had. The dashboard, for one, wasn't green anymore. It was grey, with red accents. And any time I tried to load any games, mainly Halo or Halo 2, the save files for my character, or where I was, or my profile in general, had changed. For example, their names were no longer Master Chief. They had been changed to Direct, or something along those lines. I was a bit spooked, as you can imagine, and I decided to leave it at that once again. But before I could turn off the console, I was greeted with an ear-piercing screech, with an error box then showing up, simply stating to power down the console. I did. And when I did, I decided to reboot it, once again powering it on, with the beta intro showing, and then I heard it. A subtle but weird technical modified voice that what I thought said my name. Eventually, the console shut off for the last time, and I was presented with fear at its worst. I grabbed the console and basically, but softly, chucked it in my closet. It's gone now, but it's still there, taunting me. Every time I open it up, I see it just in the corner, next to my clothes that are hanging down. All I can do is stare, and all I can do is type this up now to get it off my chest. It helps a little bit, but knowing the fact that I can still see its silver glow, well, it doesn't really help. Tomorrow, I'm gonna get rid of this thing once and for all. I'm either going to sell it, or, if not possible, destroy it. Because I don't want this on my conscience any longer. I still hear that disgusting mechanical, technical voice. It's almost calling out to me. Now I know you guys are probably curious, and rightfully so. I will be sure to record anything strange. As a matter of fact, I might find a way to upload my videos and recordings onto YouTube. Or hell, even if someone could upload them for me, that would be fine. All I want really is to get to the bottom of this and solve it. So with that, I'm gonna end off this post. If you have any information about any of this, feel free to tell me, because I'd like to hear what you have to say. But anyway, thanks for listening. I appreciate it, I really do. And it feels good to get this off my chest. Really, it does.